So I'm going to talk about my life situation, I guess. I don't know, it's pretty interesting. I, so when I was 20, I was diagnosable as having schizophrenia, and I went to a mental health unit for the very first time. And there I was tortured by the police extensively. And the voices, whatever it was one voice, but whatever. It was telling me to suffer as Jesus suffered. And when I went to do that, he possessed me and put me into his state of mind. So that way I'd be perfect as I went through the suffering. And it worked. And it was the unimaginable suffering I talk about in my profile. It's inconceivable how bad it was. Because of the state I was in. Not because being tased is... I mean, I think it might be one of the worst pains ever. Because every molecule of your body is dispensing agony to you. And that happened 3 times in a row. And I almost said it was a stun gun, but that was clearly much worse. So I could not sit for that. I tried to brush it off gently, and that was enough for him to be like, okay, let's just push his hands slightly together and click the handcuffs together. The last cop must have said, because it was the easiest thing in the world, and they were tasing me anyway, because cops are pussies. And they hit like babies, by the way. At least when they were punching you at once. And yeah, so after that, I was in prison. I was in jail for 6 months. At one of the worst jails. I mean, it was pretty fucking bad. I got in 7 fights. And then I went to prison for 6 months, which wasn't that bad because I was in mental health prison where I sat in a room by myself every single day, every moment of every day, except for an hour in a cage for 6 months. But I was talking to myself the entire time and exploring my new ability with schizophrenia. And then I was on Invega, and all dopamine was sucked out of my existence for 7 years. So I had no enjoyment from life whatsoever for 7 years. But I got to stay away from being locked up and homeless, because I was homeless for a year too at that time. And at one point I said, "Woe is me," which is the most extreme despair, and it's never gonna change kind of thing, ever. And then my mom saved me, and then I gradually became a cross-dresser. And yeah, then she disowned me, and is a horrible person, all that good stuff that people do when they're horrible people. It takes a trans issue for them to reveal that they're shitbags. But they always were. And you always kind of knew they were when you find out. It just was never turned on you yet. So yeah, I was with her for 7 years on in Vega. And then I started getting my own places and moved around a bit. Went in and out of the mental health unit a lot because the main problem was that I would theorize, and in order to develop a theory, you have to entertain it. Well, that would go on for way too long, and I ended up believing ridiculous things in order to continue theorizing. And the reason I wanted to continue theorizing is because it was an endless chain of activity. And it was far preferable to being on Invega for 7 years and fucking miserable. So I was prone to choose mania, is what it was. And yeah, so that was fun. But led to the mental health unit a lot, and then eventually I would end up in the state hospital not because it's my fault, because I was drugged. Pretty sure I was drugged, because I teleported across town inexplicably, and then had a night of reality breaking apart and me observing it break apart. And it didn't really hurt me very much, but it was still an event that happened. and it seemed to be a result of some kind of chemical effect that wasn't. I couldn't have done that on my own. That's never happened since. Never happened before. It happened for one night, and it lasted like 8 hours. So yeah. But after that, I would have blackouts where I would do criminal activity, and not know anything had happened. And at one point, I teleported from the mental. This wasn't like the other teleport. This one I didn't know happened, but I teleported from the mental health unit to jail, and it just seemed like a normal chain of events somehow. Like it didn't register as anything had happened somehow, even though I moved locations and time periods like drastically. But yes, so that was so that all those crimes that I didn't commit, that I technically did commit, that I didn't choose to do, put me in the state hospital. And I was in jail for 4 months, which was excruciating because it was 23-hour lockdown. 23 hours a day lockdown. And I didn't have schizophrenia this time. I didn't have the entertainment factor of rampant schizophrenia to push me forward. It was just dead. So 23 hours in a lockdown, and then 1 hour out, which might as well be lockdown because you're by yourself. There's nothing there. You're not doing shit. You're just walking around an empty block. But yes, so that lasted for 4 months, which was excruciating, and then 10 months in the state hospital, which was excruciating, but not quite as bad, but much longer, which made it, arguably worse, but not worse, because I remember the pain. And while I was in jail, the 4 months in jail, while I was in jail, a black guy came up and said that he has a message from God, he's a messenger from God, and the suffering is over after this. That's what he told me, and it seems to be true, because since getting out of the state hospital, I have not suffered, at all. I mean, I have kind of suffered, but it's not been like it was. It's like Act 2 of life. There's, everything's new, and there's no agony anymore. And it's not, there's pain, but it's pain. It's not suffering. It's just pain. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But, so I've been out. I was at a group home for 2 months, I think, or a month and a half. And the staff there were fucking morons. And they could not handle any kind of interpersonal conflict with me and them at all. All they could do was issue ultimatums. So I ended up ditching that place and becoming homeless. And I've been homeless for 5 months, I would say. Just about 6. My birthday was not long ago. And I became homeless at roughly the start of the year. So, roughly 6 months. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Whatever, 5 or 6 months I've been homeless for. And it's been fun. Very fun. But, yeah. So that's my state now, after going through all that shit. And my childhood was terrible. I don't want to talk about it, because my dad died when I was very young, and I saw him die. And my mom was a demon creature who gradually became not quite a demon creature, then went back into it. In a whole new way. And Jesus loves her. Apparently. For God knows why. But, yeah. And my brother is a fucking bastard, too. So my family's nothing, and then the only thing that matters is what I've been through as an adult, really. Because as a child, I just played video games and went through school and had a couple girlfriends and a few friends, sort of, not really, no close friends. Yeah, that was my childhood. And yeah, I'm homeless in a great town, and I love it here, and there's been no issues other than being hit in the face 3 times. 2 from one guy and then 1 from another guy. and I've been attacked like 15 times, but it's easy as fuck for me to get away because I've said before I had no ninjutsu, and I can actually utilize it to impossibly, blazingly fast escape from anything. Unless I'm trying to pick up my shit on the way, and then I get hit. That's why that happened. And then the other guy was a fucking crazy lunatic psycho who thinks we're friends now because he offered me a cigarette. I bet you. Yeah. So that's my life. There's more to say, but I'm not getting to it very quickly, so fuck it. Thank you for listening, if anybody listens, which I doubt.